Hello, and welcome to the Minutes Within the Mist, where we ride the rails to bring you stories about cryptids, ghosts, and other mysteries. Today, I have the story of the Paintsville UFO and train collision. A coal train was traveling along Kentucky on January 14th of 2002 when they noticed bright lights ahead coming from around the turn of a mountain. Ordinarily, this means another train was coming and would soon pass on the other track. Just then, the onboard computer began to flash, and all the electrical systems of the locomotive began to malfunction. In fact, one of the men noticed that his watch had also stopped at 2:47 a.m. Moments later, the engine died, causing the train to coast along the tracks. It was at this time that the men saw the lights in the sky were not those from an oncoming train. 3 oval-shaped metallic silver objects circled the nearby river. They were focusing spotlights along the surface of the water. With the engines dead but still traveling at 30 miles per hour, the train rounded the corner and struck the unknown hovering craft. The emergency brakes initiated and the train came to a full stop approximately a mile and a half after the impact. The men then discovered that the power had been restored, enabling the conductor to radio his dispatch. The crew were told to inspect the cars and try to limp into the Paintsville train yard. The cab of the rear locomotive was demolished and smoking, with the second 2 cars appearing as if they'd been hit with a giant hammer. Miraculously, none of the men seemed to be injured. They slowly pulled into the Paintsville yard, greeted by an army of workers the men had never seen before. These strange men began to ask hundreds of questions about everything the crew had seen, and the men were all medically tested before they could leave. After hours had passed, the crew watched as their train was disassembled and placed under a huge tent. Eventually, the crew were able to leave before working on another train back to Russell, Kentucky. During the return trip, they passed by Paintsville to discover no sign of the engines, tent, or people. In fact, nothing remains of that incident except for the one lone stopwatch that still reads 2:47 a.m. to this day. I hope you enjoyed this story of the Paintsville UFO and train collision. Please join us at the Within the Mist podcast for more stories about cryptids, ghosts, and other mysteries. But until then, watch the trains and remain constantly curious.